As 32-year-old Lorraine Cox walked the streets of Exeter, she was unaware she was being followed. Behind her lurked the monster who would take her life with unimaginable brutality. 24-year-old Azam Mangori was sure no one would ever find out about what he had done, but little did he know a CCTV camera was capturing his every move. The footage shows Exeter's eerily quiet streets in the early morning hours as Azam makes his way towards Lorraine. He continues to follow on foot as Lorraine unsuspectingly makes her way towards her destination. At first, he keeps his distance, but eventually gets closer. As Lorraine crosses the street, he follows. The pair begin walking together, but soon the footage shows it turned sinister as Azam can be seen forcibly leading Lorraine along, his arm wrapped around her shoulder, steering her forward. Lorraine was intoxicated and somehow Azam Mangori had convinced her to go back to his apartment above a kebab shop. Lorraine had been going through a difficult time in her life, having moved back to Exeter from Scotland, where she had been living with her fiancé. On the fateful night of September 1st, 2020, she had been out drinking with friends and was making her way home in the early hours of the morning. Unbeknownst to her, Azam had spotted her. Azam Mangori followed Lorraine for over a mile before approaching her and striking up a conversation before making their way to Mangori's apartment. In the days that followed, Lorraine's family and friends grew increasingly concerned about her well-being. Her behavior had become erratic, with strange text messages being sent from her phone that seemed out of character. Her fiancé had also texted her, but to this, she responded with an uncharacteristic middle finger emoji. It was as if someone else had taken control of her device and was using it to mislead those who cared about her. Desperate for answers, Lorraine's family reported her missing to the police on September 3rd. As the investigation began, a disturbing discovery was made in Lorraine's home. She had left behind her insulin kit, something that she couldn't be without for long periods of time due to her type 1 diabetes. The police worked tirelessly to piece together Lorraine's last known movements. Speaking with her friends and reviewing CCTV footage, it was then that they made the chilling discovery of Azam Mangori following her on the night she disappeared. Mangori was quickly identified and brought in for questioning. Initially, he claimed his name was Christopher Mayer and that he was a gay man who had sought refuge in the UK due to persecution in his home country of Iraq. However, his story quickly began to unravel as the investigation progressed. The true horror of what had happened to Lorraine began to emerge. Police made the grim discovery of her dismembered arms and legs in an alleyway behind Mangori's flat, along with her rucksack, clothing, and phone. Her cut-up driving license and bank cards were found in Mangori's kitchen bin, and her SIM card was discovered in a drain beneath the building. Further searches led police to a forested area called Tin Pit Hill, where Lorraine's decomposed head and torso were found. The body was too decomposed to determine the exact cause of death, but it appeared that she had been killed by asphyxiation. Mangori's phone revealed a disturbing recording of him and Lorraine having consensual intercourse down an alleyway, and CCTV footage showed him dumping her remains in the days after her death. Despite this damning evidence, Mangori maintained his innocence, claiming that Lorraine had died in an accident and that he didn't know how to act or what to do. According to Mangori's version of events, he had invited Lorraine back to his flat after meeting her on the street, where they continued to drink and engage in use. He claimed that Lorraine had pulled out a mysterious black substance wrapped in tinfoil, which she heated up and inhaled. Mangori said he also tried the substance, which caused him to black out. When he awoke, Mangori claimed that Lorraine was lying unconscious on the ground, next to a patch of what appeared to be urine. He said he tried to perform CPR but was unable to revive her. In a bizarre twist, Mangori claimed that he began hallucinating and saw strange creatures crawling out of Lorraine's mouth, prompting him to stuff a t-shirt into her mouth to stop them. Mangori's story was full of inconsistencies and contradictions, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. Despite his claims of being in a hellish mental state in the days following Lorraine's death, videos on his phone showed him calmly smoking a vape and listening to music while her body lay just feet away on his bed. The trial, which lasted for 5 weeks, painted a picture of a calculated and ruthless killer who had lured Lorraine to her death. The prosecution argued that Mangori had stalked Lorraine, choosing her as his victim before inviting her back to his flat to kill her. They pointed to the fact that he had looked up amputation videos in the days before Lorraine's disappearance and had searched online for information on how to dig a grave by hand. He had also purchased supplies to help him dispose of her body, including bin bags, tape, a suitcase, and an air purifier to mask the smell of decomposition. Despite Mangori's claims of innocence, the jury saw through his lies and found him guilty of murder. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison, a punishment that many felt was far too lenient for the horrific nature of his crimes. For Lorraine's family, the pain of their loss will never fully heal. In a statement released after the trial, they described her as the most kind-hearted, loving, generous girl and the heartbeat of our family. They expressed their hope that no other woman or family would have to go through the brutal and distressing experience they had endured. The case of Lorraine Cox is a tragic reminder of the dangers that women face in our society and the importance of remaining vigilant and aware of our surroundings. It is also a testament to the tireless work of law enforcement in bringing those responsible for such heinous acts to justice. As the community of Exeter tries to come to terms with this senseless act of violence, Lorraine's memory will live on in the hearts of those who knew and loved her. Her bright spirit and kind heart will never be forgotten, and her legacy will serve as a reminder of the importance of cherishing every moment we have with those we hold dear. The case also highlights the need for greater awareness and education around the issue of violence against women. It is a problem that affects communities across the globe, and one that requires a concerted effort from all of us to address. There remain questions that may never have satisfactory answers, but they are ones that we must confront if we hope to prevent future tragedies. The case of Lorraine Cox is a stark reminder that evil can hide in plain sight, and that monsters walk among us, masquerading as ordinary men. It's a chilling thought, one that should keep us all awake at night. How many other predators are out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next victim? How many more women will suffer and die before we, as a society, take real action to address this epidemic of violence? These are not easy questions to grapple with, but they are ones that we cannot afford to ignore. The memory of Lorraine Cox and of all the women who have lost their lives to senseless acts of violence demands that we confront the darkness head-on. We must ask ourselves what kind of world we want to live in and what we are willing to do to create it. Will we continue to turn a blind eye to the violence that permeates our society, or will we have the courage to face it and demand change?